Hi, I am Miss Barbrow, and I am here to do 20 questions with Lightridge News.
What is the first thing you notice when you meet someone?
Their voice. I know, it's trying to be able to interpret how they're feeling at that time. And if it's like, oh, good morning, as that's the response back, or like, oh, it's nice to meet you, like, oh, okay, like, do I match that energy? Are they feeling this? Do I just kind of be like, oh, it's so nice to meet you too? Or if they're like hyped, like, do I match that hype, or do I kind of keep it there? So, yeah.
What do you hope that it's others' first impression of you?
That I'm a good listener, that I'm paying attention to what they have to say, that I'm engaged with the conversation that we're in.
What's the best piece of advice you've received?
Show up on time, be early.
Who'd you receive that from?
My dad. Yeah.
What's your first job?
My first job was as a waitress, a server. I lasted a week before I realized I did not like it.
Why'd you not like it?
I was just, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Then I found a better job working as a camp counselor. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I like this way more.
What's the worst experience you've ever had with a coworker?
It was a while ago. I went to go, this is when I was going to, they were interviewing with me. I went to go park, and they pulled in and stole my parking space as I was like turning in to go, and I was like, oh, okay. And I just thought it was someone just parking, and then we go in, and I sit down, and then they walk in, and I was like, oh yeah, this isn't gonna go. And it was super awkward for like a couple minutes because we made eye contact, and then I was like, it's raining. I had to walk in the rain. Okay. Yeah. That's probably the most awkward level of thing that I can share with Lightridge News.
Who's one of your work besties?
I have a lot of work besties. Not trying to offend anybody, but I'm probably gonna have to go with Miss Schrader. She puts up with my nonsense. She'll talk me down when she hears me saying, I don't want to do this. She's always hyped for a great idea and can talk me into doing all of her wild ideas. So I think that's a good compromise, a good work balance.
What's your favorite Lightridge memory?
I probably have like two good ones. So when we were still virtual and no one was here, we were it was me and some of the admin were the only people in the building that day. And Miss Yeager was here. So during one of my planning blocks, I was just walking around the building because it's beautiful and big and empty, and I could hear all this noise in the gym, and we decided to play knockout because all the basketball equipment was here, and it was fun because it was just something to do where that pandemic part where there wasn't a lot of interaction. Second favorite memory was Next Top Bolt. That's a good solid memory of it was just a lot of fun. And the first one weren't sure how that was going to go and what that was going to look like, and I think it went off pretty well.
What is one word you would use to describe your volleyball team?
Dedicated. This one word, but I was just like, yeah, dedicated, focused, compassionate. They're such a great group of young women, and I hope they were able to use the skills that we got, not even just for our volleyball skills, just for like the basic stuff, but like how to be that kind of person on the court, off the court.
What is something you say to them often?
Hurry up.
What was your favorite activity in high school?
I loved, I was in band actually. I loved band. Yeah. I loved making music. Chorus was like a second favorite. And then I really loved English. I know it looks like as a history teacher, history should have been my jam, but A-push, woof. Yeah, that was not good. And now I teach it, but like history was something I loved, but English was my favorite.
As a teacher now, what is something you think is an important part of being a trusted adult for someone in high school?
Not being judgmental I think is important. So like if there's something that a student's coming to you with that's within the realm of where their safety isn't in danger or there's a serious health concern, being able for them to be like, yeah, I didn't study and I failed this, and not to be like, well, you should have done it. Like to be able to be like, I get it, like this was happening and this was happening, but how do we make sure that you can prioritize what's important? I think that's super important to be a trusted adult.
Who was your trusted adult in high school?
I want to say my English teacher was my trusted adult. Like I could tell her pretty much anything, or I could just look at her and she would automatically know, like, you know what, today is not going to be the day. She was an amazing person. Like unfortunately, after I graduated from college, I didn't get a chance to go back to her and say like, hey, I'm teaching now because she had passed away. But it was like, I think of her often.
Yeah.
And I try to be her in class. I try to think like, all right, well, what would Miss Buckby say? Like, how would she handle this? And looking back on it, like, I hope she's proud of me.
What's a very vivid childhood memory for you?
Going to an Orioles game with my dad. Like, Camden Yards had just been built, so it's just the smells and the sounds. Like, if I close my eyes, I can really kind of put myself back in that spot.
Is that a memory you would like to recreate?
Yeah, I mean we have.
Oh,
Since
okay.
then, yeah, like we still go back. Like once a year, we'll try to go back to a baseball game. Either if it's me and my kids, or try to go with my dad to a Nats game. But it's still there.
Right.
But it's just something where there's like that nostalgia feeling, and I'm like, oh yeah, like this feels like home. This feels good. Yeah.
What's a fear you used to have?
Merging on the traffic.
How'd you overcome that?
I had to keep driving. Merging on the traffic on the highway was not something I truly enjoy doing. It's just, just do it.
What's a piece of memorabilia you have kept for many years?
I'm gonna say a spider. I would say like this is a thing that I'm above being afraid of spiders. I'm not, I still hate spiders. But I have it because it was a reminder of like something, you can hate it, but it's still there and you gotta acknowledge it. But yeah, got this from a friend of my dad's because it was funny to give me this as a graduation gift, but I still have it.
What is an issue that you believed isn't talked about enough?
I guess it depends on what it is generationally. I think people my age, like Gen X, really aren't comfortable with being able to say like, hey, I'm overworked or I'm overloaded. And I think like Gen Z, you guys are really good at being like, oh no, I'm done with this, like I've had enough. And I think talking about like having a balance in life really does need to be talked about more. Like, why are you up working yourself to 2, 3 in the morning? Like, hey, we have vacation days, like take that day, like regroup. I know people like make fun of like mental health days, but it's really important, and I don't think people my age discuss it enough. And I think that's the thing why I like about being in high school, because there's things where it would have never dawned on me that I see now. Like going to the movie theater, it's always cold. I saw a freshman this year bring a blanket into the movie theater. And I was like, oh, she's like, it's because it's cold. Like, I want to be comfortable. And I was like, oh my God, like, thought process, why be miserable? And I think that's the cool thing about your generation. It's like, there's things where you're like, why would you be unhappy?
Right.
Do what makes you happy. So I think that's something that's not talked about enough.
Have you ever found yourself guilty of ignoring those signs maybe that?
Oh, 100%, all the time. Like, I could be tired, but I'm like, oh, I need to finish this, or I need to do this, and then I'll do it, and it'll be crappy. And it's not something I should have done. I should have like went back to it the next day, or like taken a couple of hours to actually enjoy doing something I want to do instead of always thinking work, work, work. And I think that's a big change that we as a society. Yes, you can be good at what you're doing, but it doesn't mean you should sacrifice who you are to get to that point.
What's an impact you would like to leave on Lightbridge?
I want students, like ones that either have me in class or ones that don't have me, to know that I care, it's not just a thing about their grades, it's more like I care that they're growing as a person. Yes, the grades are super important, yeah. But that they're more than just a grade, that they're more than just a number, they're more than just a test score, that they're growing as a person, that they have a sense of what makes them unique, and that they run with that and live it and enjoy it.
How do you find yourself influencing that on students?
Doing stuff like this. I think really just saying yes to things. Okay, what are you gonna do? You wanna start a club? Okay, I will try to support that. Or, what are you doing? Like, that's great. Like, oh, do you have a concert? When's your concert? Did you do this art? That's amazing. And it's not like lip service or just gassing somebody up. It's looking at it and really appreciating the work that they put into it, that's more than just their grade, or like, how are you doing? Like, how's your day going? And saying hi to kids that I don't know, and good morning, or, you know, I like your shirt, like those shoes are cute, I love those leggings, like just things that just are more than just something you get out of a textbook.
Mm-hmm.